Hello, my friend, and welcome to the 412th episode of the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Shea for the Sales Whisperer, your host. Today we have Mr. Ankesh Kumar. He is originally from India, grew up in London, lives in Palo Alto now, and he is the founder of Let's Chat, improving the buyer experience with personalized sales, engagement, bots. I was like, what the heck, man? What is this? I thought maybe he'd be a good guest for the CRM Sushi podcast, but he wants to tell a story, which I think you're going to find interesting. We get into how to go from aha to validation. You'll hear how quickly he built his alpha version to begin testing, and it's quite interesting how he came across this opportunity, how he saw the need, how he has filled it, how he is reducing reluctance, right, from prospects to share their information. David Ogilvy's always said we must enter the conversation going on in the mind of the prospect. In this interview, we talk about inertia, and I bring that up a good bit in my sales training as well. You've got to get the prospect moving, even if they're moving away from you. At least you're not trying to move someone that's just dug in. My dad always said the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. We don't want somebody indifferent. Even if they hate us, that's fine. That's still emotion. Something's going on there. We can tap into that and we can steer it. We can convert it. Okay. So, but what he's doing with these bots with email is what is really quite interesting. So you're in for a treat with him today. And tied into that, though, I think my sponsor fits in nicely. So take a quick listen to what Intercom is up to, and then we'll get into the interview. What does insight-driven messaging look like for sales? Like a whole lot more deals, fast. Jump on high-intent leads in the moment with Intercom, the business messenger that extends the reach of your team 24/7. Intercom creates more opportunities for you by booking meetings and collecting data from leads automatically. Take Intercom user Elegant Themes. They now convert 25% of leads through Intercom's messenger. Deals don't wait. Get them with Intercom. Go to intercom.com/deals. That's intercom.com/deals. Speaking of deals, lock in this deal on 30-day sales growth. 30daysalesgrowth.com. We just moved the meetings to Monday, so they're Monday mornings. Start your week off with some accountability, with some ideas, with some inspiration, knowing that you're not alone in this crazy world of sales. 30daysalesgrowth.com. I'll be raising the prices in the beginning of the year, so lock it in now. It's month to month, no crazy contracts, and your satisfaction is guaranteed. So come join us, all right? 30daysalesgrowth.com. Now let's bring on our guest. Ankesh Kumar, all the way from the Bay Area, Palo Alto, right? Welcome to Sales Podcast, man. How the heck are you?
Excellent. Thank you, Wes.
So what is this? Let's Chat, huh? Are you some kind of like entrepreneur, software guru? Is that your claim to fame?
Yeah, well, I think I'm actually basically a sales guy. I mean, if I go back in
Nice.
I think that's what I do. I sell. I grew up in London, and my first job was actually working at Xerox, knocking on doors. These days before phones, old school, and trying to sell copiers, and literally walking around, the squares in London, and the Canon guy ahead of me, and another guy behind me, Reoc behind me, and we were in the middle, and it was just like hardcore selling. And I sort of ended up here in the Bay Area, and but at the end of the day, I'm a sales guy, and started a couple of companies, but whether you're trying to raise money or trying to recruit employees or actually physically selling customers, it all comes down to sales. So that's basically my background.
So do you miss London? I visited my first time back last November, late November, actually.
Oh, nice.
And loved it. My son was studying there. Why'd you move, man?
Well, I moved to London when I was 3 from India. My dad worked for Air India, so we sort of he got transferred there. And my mum's actually, I was there last week. My mum and my sister are still in London. But I came out of California like 89, that's 30 years ago. And I mean, the weather, the people, the opportunity and everything else. So I came here, I was a British passport, came on a tourist visa. And talking about selling, I got my first job working in San Jose. And they said, hey, how are you going to get a visa to work here? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to marry an American girl. It's all good. And by the time I got to the fourth or fifth interview, I'm like, hey, I can get an H-1 visa for $800. I'll pay for it. You sign 3 pieces of paper. So that's how I got my first my work permit. And they would give me $800 a month recoverable draw, and my rent was $500, so I was living off $300 a month. And so the $2 buffets at the Red Lion, but but we spend the money on beer, but not on the food. So,
I know, I've done it. Well, I went to India like I don't know, a year and a half ago to see my son also, and he was there. So
wow.
I'm following you like very slowly.
Yeah.
Like I'm 30 years behind you, but I'm trying to catch up.
Your son's taking you to all nice places. Where's he going next?
He just graduated, so he's up in your neck of the woods. He's in the Bay Area.
Okay, excellent.
Yep. So selling copiers in London, starting a software as a service platform today. All right. We got a lot of ground to cover.
Right.
So because you've run a couple of others, right? Or no? Let me see. You had Sharetivity, but did you shut that down?
We actually transformed to Let's Chat.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Personic, man. You're an entrepreneur at heart, huh?
Yeah. When I worked for this company in San Jose, it was in the staffing business, and I used to love that. Those are the days, 100 cold calls, 20 connects, 3 meetings. That was our daily objective. It was very black and white. I mean, we were talking a little bit earlier about technology and how it's sort of really taken over, but it was, and actually it got me thinking, and a question for you, Wes. I was thinking to myself the other day, is, what we were doing 25 years ago is more like an art. Sales was an art. And now with all this technology, it's kind of like become a science. And I think that, I think there's, be interesting your perspective. But my thought is a lot of the prospects now are kind of like, oh my God, I'm getting overwhelmed with texts and messages and advertising and webinars and everything else. And I think there's going to be a little bit pushback from the amount of technology we as salespeople use. And I'm saying that as someone who's selling technology to salespeople, but I'm just, talking as a salesperson.
Well, science versus art. I mean, yeah, there's science in like which platform to use, how to leverage it, when to bring it in, when to tie it into something else. But we still have to understand what the customer wants.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? Where are they in that buying journey? What type of buyer are they? Are they an analytical type? Are they, task and goal oriented, people oriented? Are we selling a vitamin or are we selling an aspirin?
Mm-hmm.
So, man, I think that has never changed. I mean, There's still humans at the other end of the computer screen.
Right. Yeah. I just think there's a lot of automation. You see a lot of these sequences people set up in these products, and they say, okay, day 1, you call someone, day 2, you send a LinkedIn request, day 3, it's like, that's what I mean with that's a like more scientific approach. We know what the return would be if you do it in that order, as opposed to sort of using your own judgment and saying, what,
yes,
try something out. So
well, if you leave it up to judgment, I mean, it's not scalable, right? You're going to get the top 1%, 2% of salespeople that hustle, that are tireless, that are aggressive, that just have the natural knack, but then everybody else is just going to meander.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But your software, I mean, you converted it over now into Let's Chat. Mm-hmm. It's a little pop-up thing on the bottom right of a lot of websites, right?
That's what a lot of chatbots do sit on websites, but our focus is actually more on the outbound sales. We can do it on the website, but for me, that's a marketing function, right? So that really helps marketing, and then eventually incoming leads that will be passed on to salespeople. But I think the problem we're trying to solve is when, as a salesperson, I'm doing outreach, and going back to what I was doing 20 years ago, 100 phone calls, you can't do that now. I mean, I still think the phone is a very important tool that we have to continue to use, but clearly it has less importance and less priority because people just don't pick the phone up. So if I, as a sales guy, left with email, maybe LinkedIn messaging, how can I make that more productive? So what we're doing is putting what we call sales engagement bots into the body of the email. So for example, if I'm selling, sales solutions, one could be sales enablement, something could be sales operations, something could be cold calling. So what are the values that I'm giving to my prospects? Putting those as bots. And so when people click on that, I get a signal what they like. Then they can self-educate themselves. So say, for example, cold calling, there could be a blog article or a YouTube video that you've created. And so they sort of can consume that content at their leisure, but they're in an environment where they can message you, they can leave a message, they can set up an appointment, or they can, when I say message you, they can chat with you or leave a message. So it gives the salesperson control of the prospect and really enhancing the outreach in email and LinkedIn messaging with content that you have, as opposed to, hey, bumping you to the top of my list, breakup emails, all the stuff that people use in these sequences or cadences currently.
All right. So so it's in the body of the email, huh? Well,
Right,
that's
right.
cool.
Yeah,
Ooh, I had to sneeze there. Thank goodness for the mute button. I see. All right. So this is kind of like taking trackable links to the next level.
exactly. And it's better than a link, because a link will just take you to, a web page or something. This will actually take you to an environment where they can continue to learn more. They can ask questions. You can ask questions. They can hit a chat button. So, you're sitting there and someone's had a question about something. You get a ping on your phone. And the really nice thing about it, there's no sharing of cell phone numbers, because one of the problems that prospects have, and, as you mentioned, we need to understand our buyers, is that they don't want to share their cell phone numbers. So we do it in a way where, they can just click on the link. So say it's your link, let's chat /Wes. They click on that. You get a notification because, we store your cell phone number. They don't share their number. It's just a browser session. So we allow them to chat. We allow them to consume content. So it's really about sales engagement, improving the buyer journey. And that's what our goal is. I think the better the buyer journey, the more chance you're getting the buying decision.
Gotcha. So they click. All right. So this is an email. It's a button. Like I say, let's go. Let's learn more about my company.
Right.
So it opens a browser. That's cool. So they don't have to opt in. They don't have to, like you say, give up their cell phone number, which is becoming more and more guarded and protected. Now, so if I'm using this, I guess I have your app on my iPhone, and will it ding me or notify me that, hey, and to give like real time communication?
Yeah. Firstly, you don't need the app. That's the way we've built it. So basically, because it's it's an HTML5, when you set up an account, you put your cell phone number in, and all we do is send you a text message. And then when you click on the text message, it opens up a browser. So there's no app for the salesperson or the prospect to download. So it's very, very lightweight.
Oh, nice. Very cool. No app needed for either of us. All right. So how do you get the word out? Because, this is similar but different, right, than the other things that are out there. It's kind of that cross between the thing on your website versus a trackable link versus app-based, two-way. How it's not quite a bomb, right? You're not sending a video email, but it is different. It is interactive. How are you getting the word out now?
Well, we're primarily integrating to sales engagement platforms. I think any salesperson, listening, one of the concerns is, inertia is tough, right? You currently have a work process. You come in Monday, Tuesday, you do what you do. So if all of a sudden someone like me comes and said, hey, this is a better mousetrap and you can get more interaction, you're like, yeah, but I've got enough things on my plate. So what we're doing is focusing on integration into the current products that they use. So we fully integrated into Salesforce. We actually won Salesforce Demo Jam in May. We against 6 other companies. So full integration of Salesforce. We're integrated into SalesLoft. We're integrated into Outreach.io. So those are the platforms that sales organizations, and we want to do more integration to other platforms. So we want to make it easy for the sales organization to say, okay, I'm doing a template email in, say, SalesLoft, for example, and I can just add that button, and I'm creating that templated email. So it's just a click of a button and adding that. And so it just make it really, really simple. So I think that's the way we have to approach it, is to sort of like bring the barriers down, make it simple and easy.
Yeah, always. But I notice, like, when you bring in something new, it hurts people's heads, right? Like, oh, I've just always done it this way. This is how I'm used to doing things. And to get them to think through the next step, like I was talking to you before we hit record, I've got a client, technology is new to him. And so as we get started, we launch phase 1. And then all of a sudden he's like, thinks of 13 additional things that he wishes he'd have done. I'm like, oh, now you tell me.
Right.
So how do you warm people up, right? How do you educate them without taking up all of your own time, right? Because basically you have to be a product of the product, right? You need to educate them offline. You need to give them the tools, but everybody learns differently. Maybe they're distracted. Maybe it's not truly clicking on the potential, so how have you handled that?
Yeah, I think we're salespeople, right? Numbers speak, data speaks, right? And so it's all about the numbers. And I think that when I'm talking to people, if you're sending out, if you're a sales organization sending out 10,000 emails a week, look at your open rate and the click-through rate. What's the call to action? And most people will tell you it's nowhere where they need to be. It's clearly single digits. It's probably between 1 to 3%, if that. And I'll give you an example. We're eating our own dog food. So we recently did, I think it was 300 emails that we sent out. We had forget about the open rate because that's just subject line. That's nothing to do with our value, but it was over 75%. But the actual click on the sales engagement bot was 23.8%. So that's really, really high, and you got to make it compelling. So, you can, when you put the sales engagement pot, you put the person's name in it. So Wes, learn about Let's Chat. And then, once you're in there, you've got our LinkedIn channel, you have YouTube, you have, what do you want to learn about? What's and then they navigate around that and make it a subset. But the problem is when someone goes to the website, there's so much on a website, everything from company information to careers, jobs, that people kind of get lost. But if as a salesperson, you can, cultivate that. But anyway, go back to your point. It's about the data. It's about the numbers. So if you're getting more sales engagement, that's going to be where people are going to pay attention and saying, okay, let's try it out. So we've got a few people that are saying, okay, let's do 500, let's do 1,000, let's see what the engagement is. And then I also think it's about the specific use case. So I always say to people, they say, hey, is this on the top of the funnel when I'm prospecting, or is this like in the discovery? And I kind of like think it's all over, because in the beginning when they're doing the prospecting, we talked about sharing information about the company. Then also in the second phase is when you're doing this, because the first phase, if you think about it, is prospect discovery. They're learning about your company. They're learning about your products and services to say, yep, I want to learn more. Let's set up a call. Then you as a salesperson saying, well, let me do some discovery on you and see if this is a good use of my time. So you're asking the question about budget, time to buy, who else is involved in the decision-making process. So that could be a chatbot. And you can just say, hey, Mr. Prospect, want to save you some time so we don't have to do this on the call, but could you answer a few questions? So point being is, wherever there's some pain, because then as a salesperson, you have to take those answers and transpose them onto Salesforce. And if you don't have to do that, then it saves the salesperson time. They're like, oh, I'm interested. I want to learn more. And the last example I want to give you, someone we're working with doing this, is on incoming leads. So they get a bunch of incoming leads and they have to qualify them. So they send them a sales engagement bot saying those kind of questions again about timing, budget. And then based on their answers, they can escalate them up to, hey, we need to do a demo with these guys tomorrow. These guys are not looking to buy till 2020. So, they're not in our immediate quarter. So the use cases where people are not as efficient in their current workflow process, they're looking at these sales engagement bots. But at the end of the day, it comes down to numbers.
Are prospects honest when they answer these questions?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the prospects are very, very busy people. They're usually people in, high-paying roles, CFOs, controllers, IT managers. They don't have time to, really waste. And I think that leads me to another interesting use case. You're probably very familiar with the breakup email. I've sent you 8 emails, not heard from you. And one of the things that our customers are saying, hey, can we do that in a much more pleasant way? So like, with a yes, no button, I haven't heard from you, but here's a yes button. And then you can be honest and say, I've just been traveling, haven't had time to do this. My wife just had a baby, whatever the reason is, I haven't been got back to you, but please ping me in a few weeks. Or the no button, well, I'm not interested because we just purchased something, or I'm about to change jobs. And so I think sales is communication, and if we can make it easy for the prospect to communicate, I think it's in their interest as well as ours.
Yeah, well, it is, but I mean, salespeople have lied to and abused so many prospects,
right?
And now their defenses are up, right? So they think they got to lie just because they think they're dealing with a pushy, typical, arrogant, hard closing salesperson.
Right.
So anything that can remove those barriers, and making it easy is important. You mentioned email and you mentioned the phone. Are those still working? Everybody wants to say everything's dead. PPC's dead, SEO's dead, video's dead, Snapchat's dead. But is it dead? Are those tools dead?
No, I think you need a mix, right? I think that you definitely need to have those personal connections and relationships that can make introductions. I think most people would agree they convert at a significantly higher rate. But I think that you just need to do the usual cold calling, send out the email emails be a little bit more creative, because what it does do, but they work in unison, right? Because then if you do call someone and they've seen your email, there's some brand recognition as in LinkedIn. So I think depending on the company, you have to certainly do a mix. But I am actually very, very fond of, I think, calling, even though I think that email's a little easier for people to do, automate and send. I think that if, people do sort of supplement that with calling, you're going to get a higher return. And the challenge is, though, people, if they've got their cell phone numbers, that's kind of awkward. So you want to be a little careful on that. That's why I do think chat is going to be an important new it's not new, but it's going to be a very important medium, because we're all very familiar in our personal lives. I mean, using Facebook Messenger, iMessage, etc. But when it comes to salespeople and prospects, the amount of chat that happens is compared to the general population is significantly low. It's probably, in 3 to 4%, I'm guessing. It's definitely less than 10. But if you look at it in the real world, when we're using iMessage, I mean, probably I would say for you, probably phone calls, emails, and message probably 1/3 as mine. Just ballpark, roughly 1/3 each. It's just in our personal life. But when it comes to salespeople, and I think that's really the opportunity, is that if someone can just message someone back and just say, hey, now's not a good time, or whatever. The same things we would use it for short form communication. So I think that would help a lot.
Right. So how did you get this idea and take it to market? I mean, how did you know this was something you want to put your time and money into?
Well, basically because when I saw what was going on with these sales engagement platforms that basically sent out dozens and dozens of emails. I was actually at a conference, and it was one of these sales engagement platforms, and we were having a glass of wine in the evening before the actual session started the night before. And one of the sales reps said, hey, we're sharing war stories, the salespeople do. He goes, yeah, I sent 25 emails to this guy. He finally contacted me and saying, look, I'm going to take the meeting just so I don't get any more emails from you. And I was like, wow. I started thinking about that poor buyer. What you were talking about just now was, buyers being, being held a little bit sort of not in a truthful way. And I was like, that's not good. I mean, you want to build a long-term relationship with this prospect, and when they move companies, go with them there. And that's not what I wanted to do. But then you also have to feel for the salesperson, because as we've talked about, phone has its limitations, especially now, and email has its limitations because people just do too much. So then I thought to myself, well, why not chat? I got talking to people. Why don't you use text messaging and chat? Well, we obviously know about Slack, but Slack's used mostly internally, and Skype, but there was nothing there specifically built for a salesperson and a prospect to interact in a seamless way that protects the privacy of both parties. And you've got this, massive companies, WhatsApp, Instagram, they have their own verticals around chat. But for the poor salespeople, they can't use chat because of the, privacy issues and stuff. So that's really where the idea came from, is, you're left with email, you're left with LinkedIn, but is there a way to use chat? So that was our first version, was just like a chat. But then we realized, like, for example, if someone pings me on chat and I'm not there, you have to have some level of automation saying, Ankesh is not available. Would you like to leave a message, set up an appointment? So that's when we started building a little bit more the engagement bots, like sharing content, etc. So that's really where the product evolved to.
But what was that first step, right? You get this aha moment.
Mm-hmm.
When do you know it's time to put some money behind something, right? Do you hire an overseas developer? Do you call up a buddy and call in a favor?
Right.
How do you get an alpha version and a beta version,
Right.
to even know if you got something?
Right. So we basically decided around April this seemed like a good idea. And then what we did, luckily I had like a developer on hand because I was doing the Sharetivity product. And I got talking to and I don't have any full-time employees, just a bunch of people that I work with loosely, and just got chatting. And we said, wow, this seems really like a good idea. So we built an alpha in 4 weeks. And what we did is that's what we actually demoed in the Salesforce Demo Jam. We were going to demo something else. So we said to ourselves, well, we had the slot already booked. We said, you know what, this is such a better idea, and we won it. And so therefore you have that, first you have the aha moment, then you have validation, that went against 6 other vendors in that space, and the Salesforce organization as well. They're like, well, there's got to be some potential here then for what we're demoing. And then we go, okay, let's put some money behind it and take it to market and build integration and etc.
So you keep saying us. So do you have a partner, or who's the us?
Well, yeah, there's one guy, Vivek. He's my technical lead, technical partner. And then I just got a couple of people that I like. This guy called Peter Casey I work with with for 30 years. And, my previous startups, we were talking about Pasonic and stuff. He ran Europe for us. He was doing about 5 to 10 million a year in Europe. In those days with Pasonic. And so we've kept in touch with friends. When I was in London last week, I had a beer with him in Richmond. And, I've got people that are around. I think as a startup, you need to have good support. And so I've got people like that around me that can be helpful.
Yeah, I love it. You had your alpha or your MVP, right? Your minimum viable product in just 4 weeks.
Right.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
And then, so from 4 weeks until your first paying customer, how long was that?
We are, where are we now? In November. It was 3 months. So actually, let me clarify, not paying, but we've got people doing early trials and adoptions. So what we're doing right now is just, so if people want to go and try it out, they can go to our site and it's a free sign up. You sign up with LinkedIn. So we're doing like a freemium version. So for right now, people are just testing it out, and we'll do, paid for volume and integration into other products. So
Gotcha.
For right now, most people, it's free.
And so you mentioned some of the big guys like Salesforce. What if they're using something else? HubSpot, for instance. Is there like a Zapier integration, or how can they leverage that?
Yeah, so we wanted to focus on the big ones first, but yeah,
Sure.
if we have prospects coming in want to do that, we will start building integration into other products as well. But it's going to be more customer driven than we're going to sort of do it in advance. I think we've got enough to play with in that market.
Right. So are you saying, are you going to stay like at the large enterprise level, or really just as long as they're using one of those key platforms, then they can use you?
Well, our target audience initially is 50 to 1,000 employees, and
Okay.
we target SDR managers that's running a small team. I think larger companies, sales cycles is just too long, and we're focusing on technology companies, but they're more used to technology. It doesn't mean exclude other people, but and so it's a pretty large opportunity there. But we're finding that the issue is more inertia. People are working in a particular way, and it's just and that's why I think the integration helps, and then getting the data for them.
Right. Cool. Yeah. So as you were talking, I just signed up. It was pretty easy.
Oh, excellent.
Connected with LinkedIn, sent me a text, put in the code, created my custom URL, boom, done.
Excellent.
So I can click to copy the link. I can click to copy the button. I see you've got playbooks. So I guess that's to kind of jumpstart people when they're using it, kind of stimulate some ideas on how to best leverage the tool.
Exactly. Yeah, like things like the discovery, and incoming leads and stuff like that. So just it's pretty simple to use, but we can always help people create them.
Yeah, cool. So I can connect my calendar to Google or Outlook, copy the playbook, create new. Very nice.
Thank you so much.
It's as easy as it is, huh? So the URL is let'schat.chat, correct?
That's it.
Okay, easy enough. How is that URL working? Because I like those kind of custom URLs, but I don't see very many people using them.
Yeah, I think that having something like that is difficult on an SEO perspective and for people to remember. So I think that, if you're doing something that's more consumer based, it's probably not the best one. But, these days you're kind of like limited to what you can get. And, we just like the Let's Chat, and I think .com wasn't available.
Right.
Chat was, and we thought, okay, yeah, that's fine. I think that it's going to be, as you said, it's going to be earlier on, it's going to be a lot of explaining. So you aren't going to get people randomly just coming up, and so they're going to have to understand it a little bit before. So we said we'll go with that.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. And besides, after you send the first time or mention it, usually people are bookmarking it or they're clicking a link anyway. So it's
right.
It's really not that big a deal, but I like them. I like the additional names. All right, very cool. Well, did we miss anything?
No, it was all good. I appreciate the time. And
all right, well, we will send folks. We'll link to it. I've got some notes as well on the episode, but I will link to let'schat.chat. Sign up now, all right? Get in while the getting's good, because as this grows, I imagine you're going to start charging a little more money, huh?
Got to pay the bills.
Baby needs a new pair of shoes.
Exactly.
All right. Very nice. Well, Ankesh, all the way from Palo Alto, man. Thanks for coming on Sales Podcast. It's been great.
Thanks, Wes. Appreciate it. Cheers.
Pull the trigger and ride the bullet. I love the way he takes action. I love the way he combines the art and science. He understands that prospects are overwhelmed. You need to understand that as well. Okay. What can you do to stand out, to cut through the clutter? he's doing that. So go check out what he's doing. You got the free trial at letschat.chat. But if you want insight like this from these guests, right? Because I do these interviews, a couple of weeks, sometimes a couple of months before they go live. So I'm getting this kind of insight. I'm sharing it in the group. I'm sharing it on our live calls. We had our call today, and I was showing some new tools for how I'm generating leads for free on LinkedIn. So, can that help? We have others that were sharing some technical things. I've got entrepreneurs, I've got coders and developers, I've got salespeople, marketers, you name it, in the group. So, we're sharing this information early. So it's the most affordable program I know. It gets you live support plus supplemental training. Come on, join us, 30daysalesgrowth.com. Thanks for listening. Go join. Please subscribe. Please share this on the interwebs, on social media. Let me know you're out there. It helps me grow. The more this grows, the more sponsors I can get. Well, the more I can charge one or two sponsors. I don't want to flood this thing with ads. So I want to respect your time and get right to the nitty gritty. But hey, I do have 7 kids and a wife and a crazy dog that gets on the counter and eats food at night. But I digress. Join the club, all right? 30daysalesgrowth.com. Thanks for listening. Now go sell something.